Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode here of the Echelon Cycling Podcast. This is our 25th, so 75 until we're at 100. But this is basically the podcast where we talk about what's been going on in the week before and then look ahead at what's going to happen or make some kind of prediction. But as always, I'm joined by Patrick Blake of Outdo Cycling and Ewan Wilson, Mr. Greg himself, of the Cycling Dane. And I mean, it is the Tour de France. This is coming out on the second rest day. And I mean, what have you guys made of the second week of the Tour de France?
There's somehow been so much going on for such little movement between Pogacar and Vingegaard. Like this race has seemed so full of action, and like everything below them is like littering about, and it's great, but they are pretty much just locked just in this stalemate, which is making for a pretty interesting crescendo for this final week, which as a fan I'm quite on board with. This is the way that I'd kind of want it to go, is that it kind of goes down to the wire. There's been quite a few good breakaway victories of some kind of fan favourites, I guess, if you want to call them that. But I think it's been a pretty decent week, all in all. So looking forward to seeing what third week's going to throw at us, actually.
I think it's pretty comfortable saying this is the best Tour de France in a while in terms of viewing action. I think it's been really compelling. This week we had Grand Colombier where Pogacar came back a little bit more. Then we've had stalemate in the Alps. It's making for a really interesting crescendo, as you say. Maybe, I mean, we've seen it before at the Giro where like one rider, maybe Vingegaard, gains 3 minutes on Col de la Loze and it's done. But it's been a really compelling story so far between Pogacar and Vingegaard.
Who's going to win the Tour de France?
Oh, that's the question which the gambling addicts are asking, isn't it? I don't know. I feel like honestly today Pogacar wasn't as good as previous days, that being stage 15 for the people who are listening, the stage that's just gone on today. Pogacar wasn't quite as good today, in my opinion. He wasn't able to get that gap on Jonas in his very trademark 30-second sprint. I think that was quite telling in a way that perhaps Pogacar is quite thankful for the rest day coming up, because maybe he was just weakening a little bit. Maybe that back-to-back day, especially after the hard stage 14, where Jumbo really took the race by the scruff of the neck. Maybe Pogacar was suffering a little bit more today. I don't know, but we'll never know. Jonas didn't attack him. But could see a situation where Jonas puts in, a killer blow on the Col de la Loze. I'm honestly think that it'll be pretty neck and neck in the TT. So however much I back Pogacar pre-race, I am kind of leaning just a smidgen towards Jonas, because I feel like he's a safer bet for Col de la Loze, especially with like Sepp Kuss, who has proven to be really good up there in the past. Of course, he did crash today, and Adam Yates looked good, but I don't know. I'm favouring Jonas from a safety aspect, but I'm all in for Pogacar to light it up.
Yeah, I think describing him as a safe pick is actually probably the best way of describing it, because like he's in the lead now. He hasn't really attacked yet. I think he's waiting and waiting and waiting. His team, I mean, in terms of like Wout and that manpower there, it really helps if Wout is on side, at least. But I want to believe that Pogacar can do it. I also think that is going to be the more compelling narrative. Looking back on this Tour de France, if Jonas now wins it, I think it's going to be a bit like, well, it was going to happen anyway. Pogacar came in with a wrist injury. Whereas like if Pogacar won it and flipped it all around in the Vosges Mountains, I think that would be such an interesting narrative. In the same way, like back at the Giro, Roglic winning was the interesting storyline. Geraint Thomas would have been sort of like, oh, yeah, I mean, tried and tested Grand Tour rider wins Grand Tour, boohoo. Not really being very aggressive.
And Roglic isn't. Roglic isn't.
But Roglic was trying to flip the whole mountain TT narrative,
yeah.
and like, and the fact that he crashed earlier in the race, and like Roglic had a pretty terrible year beforehand. I think that was the more compelling narrative there.
Yeah.
Rather than Thomas. I think Thomas and Vingegaard have kind of parallels here in terms of that. But I mean, at the Giro, I was so pro Roglic on the final rest day. But this year, I don't quite think it's as easy for Tadej to win it. I think Tadej could gain time on the TT. I do. I know that's a hot take. All you Jumbo fans, clickety clack below about saying, "Ooh, Jonas beat him in the TTs in the past couple of years." Has Jonas ever won a Tour de France time trial? No. Anyways.
Oh, come on. He was going to win the one last year. Like, he sat up for a while.
No. It shoulda, woulda, coulda.
You literally hear it in the Netflix series.
Yeah, but and yet when I look on Pro Cycling Stats, he's second. So there you go.
Real. That's so real.
I don't give it. I don't care about niceties and gifting wins.
Oh well, okay.
He almost decked it for fuck's sake, going around a corner for no reason. He'd overcooked it and almost killed himself on the second to last stage when he had minutes in advance. It was a stupid move for Jumbo Visma fans to go clickety-clacking in the comments down below. And also, I'll just add in Roglic was just a Vuelta merchant before this year, so have that as well.
But he was second in the Tour. Come on,
he's not even here at the Tour de France.
Oh my goodness, guys, we haven't even got to the Jumbo section, and you're already firing.
He did win. Yeah, literally. Well, you better just get on to it then.
But no, we're not get. Well, we'll get onto it in a bit. But I mean, I would like Jonas to win, of course, because I'm biased. That's
biased.
But then it would be 2-2, and then next year when Tadej Pogacar is fully fit, no wrist brace or whatever, then it would be like, who's going to win best of...
is this an asterisk victory?
No.
Because Pogacar had a wrist injury?
That's not Jonas's fault. It's not his fault. It's like you say, Ewan, you can only beat who's in front of you.
Jonas Vingegaard might have gone to Belgium in April and dug that pothole for Pogacar to crash into. You just don't know. It might have happened.
Wow. So looking with the remaining stages, you're saying time trial, we don't really know. It's kind of a black box. It could go either way. Col de la Loz,
I think Vingegaard's got that, but then Pogacar says
has he though? Because Vingegaard hasn't dropped him though, so it's
Pogacar after today's stage 15, it said that he's keeping something for Col de la Loz and that mountain. He says, I've been back since, I remember from 2020. I'm looking forward to being there again. Looking forward, bro. Last time you dropped.
Remember Miguel Angel Lopez winning?
He's
Pogacar, podcast favorite Miguel Angel Lopez.
Also,
we give him so much airtime. If he makes the World Tour, he better have.
He better
have the Echelon Cycling podcast tattooed in his forehead.
Probably so funny.
Yeah, there's a team. Oh, this is us. Well, go for it. A team that is rumored to be giving him a ride, apparently, according to Colombian media at the Vuelta a España.
Who? Which team?
Yeah,
Burgos Beash?
Yeah, it's not going to be a World Tour, is it?
Kaya Rural?
Yeah,
that would be so real from them. But
back to big boy racing. Tour de France.
Okay.
How does Tadej Pogacar win this? So he takes the yellow jersey, in the TT, survives the Col de la Loz, and then I
think the stage in the Vosges suits him better. I think he's done so well in the Vosges in the past, and I just think that kind of profile, particularly like at the end, you have the Platz of Basel, and then there's like a little bit of flat after that in the Tour de France Femme avec Zwift when you had like the identical finish. The gaps there, like when Van Vleuten was in front, she was in front, and then she kind of extended the gap she had over the second group on the road. I think if Pogacar crests the Platz of Basel in first place, he continues and he could win the race. If it does come down to the wire, if Pogacar in the white jersey comes across the Platz of Basel in first place and holds that gap all the way to the line in the final, like maybe is it 10k of a plateau at the end of that stage, that could be like really, really good television. If you have like the live ticker at the bottom, like saying boom, he's like
back and forth.
It would be really good. We haven't seen that on the road stage in a long time at the Tour de France, but I really think it's all about stage 17. I think the Vosges stage will actually be more stale than we think, but I think it suits Pogacar a little bit more. I think they'll be dead by the Vosges stage, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think that
rather dead. Poor choice of words.
Yeah, part of me, the fact that Pogacar was struggling on stage 15 is making me a little bit concerned about how he'll perform at the end of the next kind of week. Because I don't know, he didn't have that snap today. Something about him today just wasn't quite on. Like he let Yates's wheel go. I'm not sure if that was a tactical move or what, but we've all watched bike racing for a long enough time, and I saw that today, and I was like, nah, there's something not quite right. That's not a Pogacar thing. He was looking down at his power meter and stuff. I was like, I don't know. It didn't look like Pogacar today. But you know what? There are more like flatter kind of recovery days, if you want to dare call them that, in this day and age. In this third week, where there's going to be there's going to be 2 flat stages, then there's going to be Champs-Élysées, but that might provide enough time where because there's been a lot of transition stages, so there's always been something kind of going on, a bit of effort to put in, but maybe that'll favour Pogacar a little bit for extra little bit of recovery time. I don't know.
Especially if Vingegaard gets planted second wheel whilst Jumbo-Visma try to harvest Wout van Aert's sprint stage win and Bourg-en-Bresse in stage 18.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's literally so thirsty for it.
Yeah, well, we might as well get on with it. I mean, Jumbo-Visma, they've been hunting this Wout van Aert stage since day one. They don't have a stage win at all with any rider. Have Jumbo-Visma played this a bit strange? I also think the tactics sometimes being a bit out of place, like how they think they're just going to drop Tadej Pogacar and they put the whole team. Well, we saw UAE do the same thing, but yeah, is there a tactical problem with Jumbo-Visma here?
At least the day UAE sent their riders to the front, Pogacar gained, what was it, 8 seconds in the end. Jumbo-Visma have done it a couple times and they haven't really gained. It's definitely predictable. We spoke about it last week. Maybe sort of a sense of, I mean, rigidity is definitely there, but also the sort of superiority where, yeah, we can drop Tadej. UAE is like, it's not really a real GC team. They don't do these sort of satellite rider moves. And like even today, seeing Wout go off the front, and then they're probably thinking UAE aren't going to respond to this because they haven't really in the past 2 years when Jumbo have planted the same kind of tactics. Soler goes in the break, and Soler is probably the more useful out of the two satellite riders. Like, there's something about Jumbo I think is just sort of missing in this race. It's not like last year when they used that fresh tactic. Also, UAE were depleted last year, which made it sort of easier for Jumbo-Visma to use and abuse Tadej Pogacar, who I also think was probably in poor form last year. You could see him sort of losing those bullets towards the end of last year's race. But I just think Jumbo have just missed that special touch. Even the fact they haven't taken a stage win so far says a lot. They have a really good chance on stage 16's TT, maybe at Col de la Loze. But then what if a situation happens again where the breakaway gets a little bit too much of an advantage? Then what happens? Because every time Jumbo-Visma have tried to control the stage from start to finish, they haven't gained much on Pogacar.
How would this race be going if, say, Wout van Aert had won stage 3 instead of Victor Lafay? Would the race be a lot different now? Would Wout van Aert be controlled more as like in a team role, or would he still be given the freedom to go in breakaways and stuff? I do feel like that lacking stage win is perhaps a more growing concern, especially when you consider that they're not flat out dropping Pogacar, which means that there must be something. If it was me, I'd be thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, if we lose the yellow jersey, then we're going to come out of this race with no stage wins and no yellow jersey. And we might not even get like polka dot jersey either or whatever. Like there might be nothing to write home about. And that would be really shit for Jumbo-Visma. And yeah, I don't know whether that's something to do with their rigidity. I don't really know. I mean, UAE, they've got 2 stage wins, I guess, which is like better. Pogacar is always kind of like a nailed on to get white. But yeah, Jumbo are kind of, especially like the talents like Laporte and stuff, just hasn't been really used that much. I feel like Sepp Kuss could get in a breakaway of something, or could have gotten a breakaway.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But
He's
maybe when
like
he was
6th or something.
Yeah, but maybe when he was like 11th in GC, maybe. But it's kind of weird, like he's moved up in GC and it's kind of like, why is he there? Because he could definitely be more of a threat if he was further down as like a satellite rider. But they just continuously got chained like a Siamese twin to Jonas Vingegaard. And I'm just like, 6th place isn't very useful to Sepp unless he's got aspirations of finishing top 5. Like, I don't get why he's there.
The one thing about Sepp Kuss as well, so like in other years, in other Grand Tours, Sepp Kuss has managed to isolate sort of the key contenders. This year, it worked a couple of weeks back. Adam Yates has slotted into that role more often over the past 2 days in the Alps than Kuss has. Yes, Kuss came down in a crash, but it seems like Adam Yates is now rising to the Sepp Kuss challenge, and Sepp Kuss's special touch of being the mountain domestique with nothing to lose in the GC towards the end of a mountain stage, that might be gone. That could change on Col de la Loze. But it just seems like Adam Yates, with those GC legs in him, is going to be there. It's not like in the Giro where Kuss was rested for 2 weeks, then appeared in the final week to change things. Kuss has been working since stage 5 in La Reims super hard to protect Jonas on all these mountain stages. And Kuss, I don't think, has really isolated Pogacar in the way that he and other Jumbo-Visma teammates did last year. The last time it happened on this Tour de France was Puy-Dôme, I think, and Pogacar gained time at the end of Puy-Dôme.
Yeah, I definitely think UAE have Jumbo-Visma have underestimated UAE team Emirates And
I think a lot of people underestimated
Adam
UAE coming
Yates'
into this
hype
race.
is just hype or whatever it was. I mean, we said the other way.
Because sometimes having these great domestiques, also you need great domestiques who can ride 3-week races. Kuss has ridden a 3-week race fairly recently. He's good at that, but he only really appeared in that final week of the Giro. Just seems like Adam Yates is going to be there in that final week, still doing this kind of job, because he's done that when he fights for the GC standings overall in the race.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
maybe Kelderman was underused. Maybe they didn't place enough faith in Mocha Kelderman.
Yeah, he's been used in like different weird times, flat stages. He was being used, but like
he's getting spat. He's getting spat early. He's getting spat before Wout van Aert is like it's not good.
For a guy that's finished top 5 in Grand Tours recently as well, was so useful 12 months ago at the Giro for Jai Hindley, has now just become like part of the train. It's like old school Ineos or Team Sky.
It is kind of weird. Keldman has not quite lived up to the billing for whatever reason, which is a bit of a shame. And I feel like UAE and Jumbo are definitely more equal up these mountain trains. If anything, I'd say that UAE have a ever so slight advantage. Adam Yates has been an absolute lifesaver for Pogacar, just in terms of not helping, but also just kind of like that mental thing of it's not just Sepp Kuss, Jonas, and Pogacar. It's like Adam Yates is there as well as just like moral support. But Adam Yates, the flamboyant characteristic that he brings to Pogacar's life. Adam Yates has been a bit of a game changer for UAE this year.
I think like today's stage with what we're not up the road with Marc Soler, and then Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard coming up from behind. Wout definitely knows that they crashed like the Jumbo team because of that fan. And instead of doing what Marc Soler did and drop back, he rides for a second place. Like, that picture of Vingegaard with 3 UAE riders, it went fine this time, but like it might not have.
Also, what kind of special touch could Wout have given there? Wout getting second place doesn't mean that much. He's got a lot of second places at the Tour de France. Yes, maybe not on a summit finish, but that doesn't really add anything unless he's going for polka dots at the end of this race. Maybe he is. What an achievement. I mean, it is an achievement, but at the same time, that's also probably the riskiest classman that he could possibly go for at this point in the Tour de France, given that polka dots can just change in one day, and all of this was in vain for nothing when you literally have a chance to win the yellow jersey, and the yellow jersey is only on your shoulders by 10 seconds. I just don't get it. Jonas Vingegaard used to selfish. Wout van Aert is just selfish.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Oh God. I honestly think that Jonas should have tried an attack today, and he didn't, and I'm not really sure why, whether Jonas didn't have the legs to, but I honestly feel like if Jumbo played it in a way where Wout waited for a little bit and Jonas tried an attack, I feel like maybe something could have worked out there, especially since we knew that Wout Poels had pretty much won the stage. Like you say, is Wout van Aert going for the mountains classification? It's like, you know that freaking Ciccone is absolutely ravenous for that competition, or that more than likely Jonas or Tadej will win it because Col de la Loz is an HC, and that takes a lot of points. So I honestly feel like they should have been more aggressive today. I understand they were aggressive yesterday on stage 14, and like they definitely kind of made the race on that day, but I feel like they needed to read that Pogacar wasn't on a good day today and try something. But I feel like they were too cagey. They were like, no, we're quite happy to keep 10 seconds. But I wouldn't be happy with 10. You want every second you can get over Pogacar, who's just an unpredictable attacking rider who could hit you with a blow at any point.
Maybe they're just hoping that Pogacar burns out like he did last year in Otakam, in terms of like, he's just gone completely, but I think it's a different Pogacar this year. And his fight isn't as futile as last year, where last year it really felt like something big had to happen in order for him to like flip that Tour de France, because he lost 3 minutes at Col de la Loz, 3 minutes at Col du Granon, rather. This year, I just don't get it, and I keep feeling like when they have those post-race interviews with like the yellow jersey and Seb Piquet hands the microphone, then like Jonas Vingegaard keeps putting on this like fake smile, like everything's great. Yeah, I'm going so well. I'm totally fine. When literally for the final 2 kilometers of Jus Plan, his head was tilted the whole time to Pogacar. Even today on the finale to Saint Gervais, he was looking around the whole time. The momentum will shift to Pogacar after the TT. Col de la Loze, we don't quite know. But Jumbo, I think, might just be getting entitled and ahead of themselves about, oh yeah, we can just flip it around in one day, because that worked last year. Col de la Loze 2020. Roglic gained time on Pogacar. Pogacar flipped it around in the Vosges a couple days later. Where are we going after the Alps? The Vosges.
We'll wait and see. But moving swiftly on, I mean, Adam Yates looking like he's going to be gearing up for that third place potentially here, gaining ground on both Carlos Rodriguez and Jide Hindley. Seems like he's going backwards, unfortunately, after that crash. But question time. In terms of the Yates brothers, they've been in plenty Tour de France's between them. How many times have each of them finished in top 10? They're both in top 10 right now.
Adam finished top 10 last year, 2016 as well, when he won white. So that's definitely 2. I'm trying to think of any more.
Simon top 10 in 2017. Adam top 10 in 2020 when he wore yellow.
Yeah.
2019, Simon Yates stage hunted.
Yeah, I don't think that was top 10.
I don't think Adam was in top 10. Which one are we missing? 2018? Simon did the G1. Simon did the Vuelta.
Yeah, so Adam Yates. I don't think Adam Yates did well in that race.
Are you saying 4, or do you have one more?
How many were we on?
We were on 4. Did they finish top 10 before 2016?
No.
No, was that the first time?
I mean, you're teaming up here, so I don't know who the points would go.
Oh, right.
If that's right.
I mean, can we
not
not
go
join forces with 4?
4.
Yeah, 4 is correct. Well done, guys.
Yes.
But in terms of that podium position, is it going to go Yates' way right now? I mean, Ewan and I, we talked about the recap race analysis. The Dauphiné, Carlos Rodriguez losing a minute to Adam Yates.
In the TT.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say the TT from the
his first ever tour as well for Rodriguez.
Yeah, but he did a good TT in the Vuelta last year, and it was like a pan flat one, and this is a different kettle of fish. But yeah, like you're saying, that Yates finished 8th in the Dauphiné TT. Rodriguez finished 25th or something. Like you say, a minute down. I would say that Yates could honestly move onto podium after the TT. This is the best Adam Yates that we've seen in any Grand Tour. Straight up, he is the best version of himself that we've seen on a bike. I think that he could finish on the podium. My hot take, which was very counterintuitive to my podium prediction, I said that Yates would finish on the podium. Then you pointed out how I put Hindley in 3rd. And then I was like, oh yeah.
I mean, you both put Hindley in 3rd.
But also a couple of months back, we also had a discussion about UAE and the Tour de France. And I think we sort of said together, it wouldn't be outlandish wild if Adam Yates finished on the podium of the Tour de France. I think that might have been even before the Dauphiné.
Yeah.
We also said in that Kelderman as well could also finish on the podium, but we forget that latter comment.
Yeah,
but the former comment was great.
but they're not using Kelderman correctly, so that's not.
Because isn't far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you consider that TT, and then there's 2 big tests after that, Col de la Loze, and then stage 20. I do think that Yates, so long as he doesn't have an absolute shocker on Col de la Loze, I honestly think that he could finish 3rd. Because I think that he is ever so slightly better than Carlos Rodriguez is at the moment. But I do think that it'll be pretty close, because I do think that Rodriguez is pretty good. I think he's full of momentum at the moment. I think Ineos are very high on him as well. I think it'll be close. But Yates, considering that he's super domestiquing for Pogacar, and Pogacar will probably want, pace set on Col de la Loze, that'll probably drop Rodriguez. So I do expect that Yates could gain 30 seconds a minute in the TT, and then maybe gain another 30 seconds or 20 or whatever on Col de la Loze, and I think it'll be hard to lose that on stage 20 alone.
I would agree. I think as well about that Col de la Loze stage. I think if Yates is sitting up there like he has over the past couple of days, ride up Col de la Loz. Maybe he drops back, but I think if he drops back, he'll stick to Rodriguez's wheel. I think if he gets that little advantage in the TT, I think it'll be hard to unseat him. And also, if Pogacar's in a comfortable position after Col de la Loz and he can start believing, then I think Adam Yates gets defensive about third. For UAE to get first and third, or even second and third, as well as a white jersey, 2-stage wins, a yellow jersey stint, that's a really, really good Tour de France.
Yeah,
Also a very different Tour de France to the three that they played before in 2020, 2021, and then 2022. They have all been very, very different, but this has been the best UAE that we've seen.
hypothetically, Jonas wins yellow, but Pogacar finishes second and Yates third. That's still good. Like, they didn't win, but I still think that's a good achievement to have two riders on the podium. It's not very often that happens with the 2-stage wins, with the white jersey, maybe even with polka dots or whatever. You don't know what's going to happen in this final week. But yeah, I think Yates, I reckon he could take a podium spot, to be honest with you. I reckon that'll be a pretty realistic ambition, especially since UAE seem pretty keen on being like top of UCI rankings or something, don't they? And second and third in GC, like, don't you get 1,000 points? You get 1,000 for winning or something? Like, hell, that's a lot of UCI points, especially when you've got Almeida, who's finished on the podium with the Giro. Whatever's going to happen.
Ayuso went to the Giro, Welter. They're also very close to taking the team classification.
Yeah, so they'll be keen for it.
And I've also got to say about UAE in terms of them versus Jumbo-Visma is that over the past couple of days, Grand Colombier, then the two Alpine stages, is that they've had teammates right up there towards the end. The numerical advantage that Jumbo-Visma have historically had on these mountain stages, it's annulled because we see Grosjean climbing well, Mike is climbing well, even Soler has been up there towards the end as well on a couple of these mountain stages. I think they're pretty equally matched now. It's just down to manpower. But Yates, I think, in these final couple of days will definitely perform better than Kuss. But Rodriguez, it's kind of the unknown, really, about what he's going to bring. I guess the Vuelta's not a great test because he crashed really heavily. If Rodriguez goes in the podium, I mean, that's a huge achievement for him. 22 years of age in his first Tour de France. It's pretty exceptional.
You'd have to take your hat off to Ineos, because that would mean that if he does finish on the podium, that would be on the podium of a Tour in the last 3 years. Carlos Rodriguez with Geraint Thomas and with Richard Carapaz. And to be honest with you, I did not see Rodriguez finishing on the podium or being a podium candidate at the beginning of this race. And I'd have to take my hat off to Ineos if he did finish on the podium, because being, behind the juggernauts of the cycling sphere, being consistent to finish in third place every time is an achievement in and of itself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you mentioned crashes. We might as well get on to the next part. Yeah, Jumbo-Visma, they've been hampered quite a lot by this rider safety. Like, the fan kind of connected with Nathan van Hooijdonk, that brought down most of their team. And I mean, just in general, like, there's been so many crashes, not necessarily fan related, but like we saw in descent as well. Even today we saw Chris Neylands in a very weird crash. Is this Tour de France less safe than normal, or how do you feel?
So there's so many fans here, and especially in these Alpine stages, there are only 2 stages in the Alps this year, so they're hyper concentrated on certain places, and all these fans are coming up there towards the top, and it's just sort of getting in the way of the racing once more. And I think we kind of also have amnesia of the fact that this used to really bother the racing before COVID. Like, Nibali came down in the crash on Alpe d'Huez because he got tangled up in someone's camera strap. It just seems like they're getting a little bit too ahead of themselves. The fans, maybe it's just this built up sort of, we need fête Tour de France. It's back. We can finally go out. There were fans the other day coming up to the Cofidis team car and just shaking it, whilst all the team staff are inside, and like the fans are like jumping on the car and so forth. Like, it's just maybe a step too far.
I've never seen anything like that. I mean, like, because I was there last year and it wasn't like that. Right, even for me. To be fair, I was a little bit further down on outdoors. I wasn't up there at the absolute just chaos of the upper few bends. But I don't know. Do you reckon, is there anything to be said for the Tour de France Unchained, has that increased popularity enough where lots more people are coming to the red side or not?
I think just because it came out a month ago, I think it'll be hard to people like the short-term effect.
Yeah.
Maybe next year you'd see that more, but
Yeah,
like Tour de France is like a known product in France already. Like in terms of the
true.
domestic market, there won't be people coming, but maybe next year we'll see more sort of casual fans. But I think the casual fans would have more caution about them. Maybe because they're like, wow, they're going so fast, let me step back instead of like oh yeah, I can like run up alongside them. The people running up alongside them aren't people who just have happened to get into the sport a couple of weeks back. These are guys who know how to like mess around with the race, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, it makes me just wince every time that I see somebody running alongside. I'm just like, oh, please God, no,
Wait,
please God, no,
didn't
don't hit
you
him.
run it and alongside them in the Netflix documentary, Patrick?
No, I was like bouncing along.
Ah, okay.
I
Fair
wasn't
enough.
running. No, I didn't do that. I was just screaming profusely.
Big win
Yeah,
this.
literally. I bet he did. So clearly, my screaming worked.
But
Obviously.
like, yeah, in terms of crashes, we've had the one that took out Bardet and everyone. I'm not sure that was a fan related one.
I don't.
I
I
think
think he just overcooked the corner. I
Yeah,
think relatively,
the
it's been all
corner
right.
that one wasn't a fan related. Neither was but so Balde came down after the mass pile up. Balde and
Yeah,
James Shaw came down on a descent.
I'm honestly under the opinion that I know the last few days have kind of tainted it, but I think this has been a relatively crash-free tour. I'm actually really surprised.
really.
Yeah. I'm honestly very surprised that the very first few days weren't more crash prone. I know Enric Mas and Carapaz DNF,
I
but
agree with that.
we find that when road stages start off the race, it's so chaotic, it's so jittery. Everyone wants first position over the climbs, and over those Basque climbs, I was like, this is begging for chaos. This is begging for crashes, and it didn't. And we haven't really seen them in sprints. I know on that motor circuit one there was some crashes, but that was more like riders bumping into each other rather than fans because it was all barriered. I also think we just hit the mountains, and this has just kind of come about rider safety. But I also think this has been one of the safer Tour de France's that I've seen. There hasn't been that many crashes from what I can remember, but I could very well be wrong.
No, I agree. Up until the Alps, I think it's been crash free. I mean, with the fans getting involved, it's just like barriers and so forth. On the Basque Country, at the top of the Jaizkibel, they have barriers there from quite a long way out to protect the riders. At Puy-Dôme, they have barriers out there as well, protecting the riders from the top. Maybe these are stages that they anticipate the fans more. Puy-Dôme, it's like they can't get to the top, so everyone's going to go there. It's next to a big city. It's actually quite easy to get to, unlike a lot of these Alpine ones. But maybe they underestimate the fans, and also they want to sell the Tour de France experience in a way where you can be right next to the riders and you can cheer them on and you can smell the sweat. That's also part of the Tour de France brand, and maybe they buy into it without sort of realizing the risks enough. Putting barriers at the Jus Plan the whole way from the bottom to the top definitely would have killed the atmosphere, and I think it would have been bad for the Tour de France brand. But also having motorbikes encroach in on the riders because the fans are getting too close also affects the Tour de France brand. It's kind of a balancing act between the two.
I honestly think that the Tour are missing a trick to get more money here, where they could barrier off the top parts of climbs and sell them as VIP areas. I'm just saying. Literally, it happens at town centre crits, where I go to. There are VIP areas which people pay to get into so that they have more unrestricted kind of viewing, basically, because it's basically like pay to enter. Just have that. Like you're just like, oh, you need to pay however many euros to have access to this, because that will essentially just means that it's barriered off, but people can still get in there but for money. And then you just give that, and then the ASO collects that money and dish it out as prize money to women's racing. I don't care, but I feel like they're missing a trick there. To be honest, I feel like they could get a little bit more cash in the bank.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, we might as well move on. Giulio Ciccone is on track potentially for winning the polka dot jersey. Who knows?
Good,
Maybe not.
good.
But the question here is, who was the last Italian rider to win it?
God.
And yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, that seems cool for sure.
I'll just drop in as a side note for thinking. I have a vetted interest that Ciccone wins because he's on my Velo Games team and I need the points. So I was very disappointed with 14th place today, Giulio. So step it up, please.
I didn't realize Ewan had Velo Games at team, so I wonder how you two are comparing.
I do, but I mean, some of them have been pretty decent. Like I had Phillips, Adam Yates, Vingegaard, Hindley.
Hey, look at
But
that.
then I also picked up Jente Beeremans, thinking he'd be in the breakaway and get a couple 10th, 9th places on sprint stages, and Jente Beeremans has been nowhere.
Anyway, Italian KOM.
2009, 2010 was a good period for Italians at the Tour de France.
Is it going to be?
Is it
Is it going to?
Nocentini,
Oh,
Pelizzotti?
You can only do
Nibali.
one guess.
No, Nibali's never won. I don't know. Would Nibali have won KOM in the year that he won it? 2014. Who won it that year? Was that Mike?
Rafa Michael.
Might just say like Francesco Moser and just freaking like, just like or copy, just like get a certainty. And I'm bamboozled. I don't know.
I'm gonna put you out of your misery. No one saying Pantani? Pantani, anyone? No? No?
Where was he the last one?
You're not saying Pantani?
All right, I'll say Pantani.
No, you already had your guess. You can't,
All right.
go again.
Oh, well,
But
okay.
I was surprised none of you said Pantani.
Well, I don't know. I thought I was too far back. But then again, I did say like
What,
Francesco Moser and copy.
1998? No, it was Claudio Capucci back in 1992. And he did it twice,
Real?
apparently. Yeah.
He was the last Italian winner of the KO. They love
Yeah.
KOM classifications,
Yeah.
don't they? I do.
Nice.
It's because Pelozzotti that you were thinking about was done and was stricken off the record.
Oh,
That's why. That's why. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
it was a
dear.
trick one. But nevertheless, we're not going to talk too much about the pocket jerseys. Very tight. And I think we'll go to Remco Evenepoel, transfer rumor once again. We've spoken about this before.
We're back.
Yeah. I mean, quite odd, isn't it?
What's new this time around? Because I saw a little thing on Twitter being like, oh, Ineos have they officially approached or they're just talking more? Like, what's new this time compared to the last, I don't know, 2 weeks ago when we
Well,
last...
apparently, Ineos have offered €6 million a year as part of a 3-year deal. There's also, according to certain sources, been links to Lidl Trek, Israel Premier Tech, and Ineos. I mean, this Remco Evenepoel saga continues. Patrick Lefevre was last week we spoke about the rumors about Patrick Lefevre selling the team, which apparently aren't true. Patrick Lefevre has been very honest about his new transfer hunting list, which includes George Bennett, surprisingly, as well as Michael Storer, as well to bolster in new mountain support, and Laurens de Plus, that was the other one, Laurens de Plus as well, to bolster mountain support for Remco Evenepoel. But he also spoke about the whole Ineos thing, not happy with it. Of course, he's not happy with it. He described Remco as a sports car that's not for sale the other week, and he said that stop flirting with Remco. That's what he said the other week. And to be honest, I don't think there's any real base for these rumors with Lidl Trek, who seem to have money bags next year, and Israel Premier Tech. Bro, if Evenepoel moves down to Pro Continental, I don't trust the sport anymore. I'm quitting.
Yeah, literally. Now, Remco's like 15 years too young to be going to Israel. Like, he's not in their age range, you know. He's not retiring. There's no way he'll go to Israel. Yeah, Lidl Trek's a weird one. Although to be fair, they threw a load of money at so every rider can have a different decal on their bikes or something at this race. It's like brilliant.
I mean, they also have Theo Gegenhardt, Jonas in Milan, Patrick Conrad, forgetting who else, but they have other riders as well who are supposed to be coming in next year. Maybe Ida Schelling as well.
If Ineos get Remco, that would honestly be like it'd be life-saving for Ineos, to be honest with you. I feel like with the strong rumors of Rodriguez going to Movistar, which is a real kick in the teeth considering that he's currently third place in the Tour. And lots of the other riders going out. Yeah, gaining Remco would be an absolute lifesaver for Ineos. But to be honest with you, I just don't see it happening. Because if Remco leaves, right, Soudal Quickstep, right? What are Quickstep doing? Who do they have left? They've
Dylan Van Wilder.
Oh, fantastic! Oh yeah,
They've
got like
Merlier.
They've got brilliant, Tim Merlier.
If they loved Merlier enough, they would send him to the Vuelta.
They've got like Tim Merlier and the classic squad that was dominant 3 years ago, and then that's it. And it's like, all this, basically, they went from like Jakobsen and Evenepoel to add Merlier into that to now we've just got Merlier. Like, if they lose Evenepoel, they've really fucked up, to be honest with you. They need to not lose him. But I don't know. Do you think it makes sense for Evenepoel to go to Ineos? Does he get more mountain support, more experience in terms of a GC framework compared to
I think yes. Yeah.
Quickstep? Because
I would move to Ineos if I was him.
Would you?
More money, better support. Well,
Yeah.
no, actually, how many are left? Sivakov's going as well, apparently. So,
can you imagine
what's left?
Yeah, can you imagine a team time trial unit of Ineos which contains Filippo Ganna and Remco Evenepoel?
And world champion Tobias Foss.
Oh, yes, sorry. I apologise. I put some respect on his name. But I'll be a killer. I'll be a killer. Like, well, so yeah, the TTT doesn't come around unless you're in like the Vuelta or something. So it's kind of a shame. But you know what I mean. It'll be a cool move. If I was Evenepoel, I'm with you, Scott. I feel like if I was Evenepoel, I'd probably move. But Ineos are just better at the GC game than Soudal Quickstep.
But is it one of these things again with the bike brands as well? Do they have a big power in this? Because they're, Pinarello specialized.
Yeah, I don't know.
A Trek, but yeah, it's literally no one's riding the same bike.
I don't think Remco has a thing with S-Works or specialized. Like, I know like Sagan has a thing with them, but I'm not sure if Remco does.
No, I don't know. Why would he stay at Quickstep? Like, he's the big king of a team. It's Belgian.
Yeah, it works. I mean, he's going to the Vuelta. He won that last year. We'll see if he does the same again this year. I'd say if he probably does, and they're clearly in a transition where they're bringing in more climbing talent. Maybe they turn GD team, especially with the removal of Jakobsen. They open up a little bit of budget to bring in these mountain domestiques. Maybe Remco is more enticed to stay.
Kind of concluded there with Remco. We did another clip, so make sure to check that out. Of course, we also have all the rumors on the cyclingdane.com website. Sorry, Echelon, for plugging that. But I mean, Jasper Philipsen 3-stage wins. We're going to get on to his lead-out man next. But, 3 stages so far. I'm probably going to win 4.
4 stages so far. Put some respect in his name, please.
3 stages? 3 stages?
Moulin, Bordeaux, Bayonne, Nogaro. 4.
Oh, sure. Okay, my bad. Who was the last Belgian rider to win more than 4 stages in a Tour de France? And what year? There we go.
I'll go Tom Boonen, one of the old guards.
I mean, my first instinct was to say Tommeke. But Freddie Mertens.
Oh, yeah.
Martins. Is it Mertens or Martins?
It is him, actually. 5 stages in 1981.
Okay, I was going to say 70-something. So
1981.
Yeah, there you go. Oh. So, I mean, Jasper Philipsen, he's going to achieve some things if he takes the next stage.
He'll take 3, easy.
Yeah, 3? Yeah.
It's there's definitely 2, maybe 3.
Nevertheless, his lead-out man, Mathieu van der Poel, obviously been doing a great lead-out for him on several stages. But yeah, what is happening with Mathieu van der Poel's Tour de France not taking a stage win? This is 2nd year in a row. Obviously, the last one was a bit different because he did the Giro as well and said he was fatigued. But yeah, what is happening with Mathieu van der Poel and his Tour de France this year?
There was a thing where wasn't he ill or something? He had some stomach problems a couple of stages ago, but then he bounced back, and I can't remember, it was the stage which Jonas won. He was in the break there, so clearly seems to be over it. But I don't know, to be honest, there's not really stages left for Van der Poel in this race because they all look more suited towards Philipsen, to be honest. Maybe stage 19. If it's a breakaway stage, could be a Van der Poel-esque day, but that's 1 stage left out of 6. So Van der Poel will probably be focusing more on the World Championships, which is a course that suits him very well as a very kind of puncher rider. So, yeah, I don't know. Is it just me that's been a little bit kind of like deflated by the fact that we haven't had a big Van der Poel show in this race? I was kind of hoping it would happen, but It hasn't.
I agree. I feel like I've been a bit indifferent about Van der Poel's race. I mean, great lead out man. He's done his duties well, but in terms of his own race, it hasn't really been that electric. He's been in the breakaway a couple times. I thought he'd try to like fish out the most combative rider prize because, to be honest, with his name, it would be quite useful for the Tour de France to give it to him with the PR that could have come with that. But yeah, I mean, he's looking towards winning the World Championships in Glasgow, and maybe he could do that. While Van Aert is like burning himself out potentially before that. So we'll see how it goes there.
Apart from the spanner in the works, Olav Koy, also in the Dutch team. I honestly think that Koy could survive the course as well, and whether that'll provide a little, confusion. Not confusion, but you know what I mean. There's like two leaders. How do you kind of play that? Is it just like, Koy, you sit behind? This is Mathieu van der Poel we're talking about.
Judging by his climbing as well, Dylan van Baarle could be right up there.
Yeah.
He's there when you least expect it.
Van Baarle does like perpetually do well in long, very attritional races, doesn't he? Thinking back to 2021 World Champs in Flanders, where I always forget, but he finished on the podium. He's finished on the podium of Roubaix. Oh no, he's just won Roubaix. He's finished on the podium of Flanders. He's very good at long distance. Is Van Baarle, and he has looked, actually, to be fair, put some respect on him. He has been doing pretty good in this race. He's been very solid. But yeah, I mean, Van der Poel. I think he's just focusing more on World Champs now. Let's face it, it's sort of the thing which he doesn't have in his palmarès. He's won Roubaix, he's won San Remo, he's won Flanders, which are the realistic sort of monuments that he would get. Yes, you could say Liège, he could maybe do, but the World Championships is really the defining thing, which he is like the big thing that he's missing off of his palmarès. So I think that that's his main goal, and he's probably quite happy to play the teammate role for this tour, just in preparation, more than likely.
Needs a quiet hotel room before Glasgow.
You could come stay with me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, you were like you were advertising that you would take on some of these minor teams as well.
Yeah. Madis Mikkels has not hit me up. Neither has anyone from Estonia. I'm really disappointed.
We might as well finish on a bit of a peculiar story. And Ewan thought this was quite funny. Chris Froome and Sylan Adams getting in a bit of a public spat after a Guardian article.
Yes, so this came out the other day. So Chris Froome on July 13th posted a video, "I was ready for the Tour." Of course referring to the Tour de France, not the Tour of Qinghai Lake, where he discussed the fact that he felt good and he should be on the team, yada, yada, yada. Sylan Adams had a lot to say about this. He appeared on the Radio Cycling podcast, also did a piece with The Guardian and Cycling Weekly as well, and he spoke about Chris Froome, his relationship with the team. Sylan Adams, notably said, quote, that Chris Froome was not a PR exercise. He's not a symbol. He isn't a PR tool. He's supposed to be our leader at the Tour de France, and he's not even here. So no, I could say he's not value for money. That's a pretty damning quote from Sylan Adams, who's head of Israel Premier Tech, who's always been very honest and very outspoken to the media. He even said if his team weren't invited to the Tour de France, he would create his own rival to the Tour de France. This is a man who likes to be brash in the media, but to be honest, he's talking a lot of sense here. He also said that he genuinely brought on Chris Froome as a GC guy. Quote, "We didn't sign him as a stage hunter, and we all recognize, including Chris, that he is not ready to compete for a GC podium, forgetting about winning stages or even close to a podium. So if he wants to be here and hunt for stages, he has got to displace one of those guys here, and frankly, he didn't earn a spot." Then he spoke about the fact that the team was invested in him recovering from that crash in 2019, which Sylan Adams says cannot excuse his poor performances now in the year 2023. They sent him across to this Red Bull center in America to sort of recover. He did some quite sort of unique and sort of genre pushing recovery programs for genre pushing. That's music. Sort of cutting edge recovery techniques for Chris Froome to get back from this crash, and what he thought were the implications of it, and he's just missing the mark. There, he said as well that he wants Chris Froome to retire with Israel Premier Tech. He'd be quite comfortable for him to retire. They have an informal ceiling of the age of 40, which Chris Froome is not that far away from at the moment. Will he sign on with the team for the next couple of years? We don't know. They haven't spoken really about contract prolongation, but he'd be happy if Froome were to retire at the end of this year.
They're signing Remco, though.
Oh, yeah.
Tobias Foss, apparently, which neither of which seem to be strong leads.
I can't wait to see Chris Froome getting his knee down around like Dudley GP or Lancaster GP with Sam Perrin in like 2 years' time, when he comes down a peg down to continental level after his heights of Israel Premier Tech. I really can't wait for Chris Froome to join the British crit scene and just go smashing it round a Wednesday night, like the crit race or something. That's not going to happen. I'm just taking the piss. But it's kind of like, this is pretty harsh words, though. Not gonna lie. Like, it's clear to see that he's lost his lost his patience with Chris Froome in his rehab recovery, and is just like, nah, this is a mistake, and basically we shouldn't have done this.
I don't get how sorry, Sylvan, but how he thought that Chris Froome could really come back as a GC guy when in 2020 he had yes, he's recovering from a really serious crash, but he showed no results in 2020. Probably they ran testing numbers past him and so forth, and they genuinely believed he could come back to the top level. And then also with his results in the previous seasons that as well in 2021, then in 2022, and he's just missing the mark, not really coming close to winning. Third place in Alpe d'Huez in 2022 at the Tour de France is his best result since signing for Israel Premier Tech on any in any race. I don't know. I mean, he's not a PR tool. Sending him to the Tour of Rwanda, having a film commissioned about Chris Froome, not being a PR tool. I don't know, but then at the same time, he is still a big name, and they genuinely believed in his chances and building him up for the Tour de France to be a GC leader. I'm not that delulu. I'm not that delusional about Froome becoming a GC leader one day, but I mean, their transfer policy has been questionable over the past couple of years. This talent acquisition move was not the best to bring on Chris Froome in his mid to late 30s after a quite serious crash.
Yeah.
And to genuinely believe that he could be a GC leader. Maybe it was the friendship they had and they built up. Of course, Sylan Adams and Chris Froome were close in 2018 to bring Chris Froome to Israel for the Grande Partenza, the Giro that year. Then as well to bring him onto Israel Premier Tech 3 years later with the money bags,
Yeah. It does make me wonder though, how did Israel, or how do they I don't know how the whole transfer thing works of cycling, but how do they have a list of riders who are realistic targets and what they can realistically achieve, and they're you know what we need? Chris Froome, who may or may not do anything. It's would you not?
Highest paid rider as well.
Yeah. But not from a PR perspective, remember?
But
yes, not from PR. It's because he genuinely thought he could be a leader.
Yeah, it's you're telling me, I can't remember which riders have been signed in the last few years, but you're telling me there wasn't.
Well, Jakob Fuglsang is one of the riders.
Fuglsang came across with the Premier Tech deal as well. So did Ugo Ull.
Well, there's just there's been so many riders who have been transferred in the last couple of years who just Israel could have gone for instead, who have been far better moves than Chris Froome. And I just think that this whole thing has just been a complete waste of time.
Well, on that note, speaking of a waste of time, rider of the week. No, I'm kidding. Who has been your rider of the week this week in the Tour de France, or if you want to go for Henok Mulubran, who took his first stage race? Qinghai
He
Lake.
won Qinghai Lake.
Yeah, exactly. I think is it his
He
first
did.
stage race? No, I think he won Tour of Rwanda this year as well. But nevertheless, you can pick him if you want. Rider of the week.
I'm going to go for somebody a little bit different. I'm going
Max
to go
Poole,
for
isn't there? Max Poole didn't make the tour, so
I know. It's all right. I'm still upset about them not bringing him here, considering that DSM are in a shambles now. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to be picking Joshua Goliker, who rides for the under-23 FDJ team, because he won 2 stages of the Giro Ciclisto della Valle d'Aosta, Mont Blanc. I just think that, he won 2 stages of that. He's 19 years old. He won the points classification in that race as well. And, I don't know. I just thought I'd pick a quieter one in a week of big Tour de France names getting stage wins. It's good to see another British talent with the Groupama team with a French setup doing well. So looking forward to seeing what he'll do in the coming years.
Yeah, and I mean the overall winner of that race is also an Irish rider, really exciting Irish rider called Darren Rafferty. Didn't take a stage win, but won the overall with a 2-minute margin. This race is quite a good tell of young talent. A lot of sort of rising stars have won at the Valle d'Aosta, but Darren Rafferty, just flagging him up because he's moving to EF next year, we believe. My rider of the week is...
Hang on, wait. So you just take Patrick's rider of the week and explain another rider, and he's not your rider of the week?
No, he was at the same race. I thought that was a cool ride
okay.
for him, and I
didn't know
You're
that
not picking him as a rider of the week.
You're not picking Darren Rafferty.
No, I'm actually going to pick Carlos Rodriguez because I think in
I was
terms of Tour de
gonna do
France
that.
and momentum,
I was gonna
in
pick
terms
him.
of Tour de France, the fact that he shifted the momentum away from Pidcock this week, gained a stage win in the face of Pogacar and Vingegaard, and he's now in the hunt for 3rd place. It's really impressive.
Okay,
Also, I feel
I
like...
have to pick another one now.
Were you going to pick Rodriguez?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Torsten Train now because he was in a breakaway and that guy has crashed so many times and he's still in the Tour.
I swear he's on like 3 crashes now, isn't he?
Yeah, so bad luck. Poor guy. I think first Norwegian rider of the week, no?
What that we've ever had? No, is it? Are we not picked Stouter, whatever is Mitter, whatever?
Jonas
picked him yet. It's coming up in a month and a week then. So keep your eyes out for that.
Well, there we have it. That's it for our 25th episode here of the Echelon Cycling Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel or on Spotify, etc. Comment down below because we love your comments, and I mean that. Some of them are really funny. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Yombo ones. But yeah, that's basically it for us. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, as said. And we will see you next week, and enjoy the Tour de France.